All right, Cyber Traders, welcome on back here this Tuesday, April 12th. Great to see all of our students and members alike inside the Cyber Group room. We have Lewis wishing us well just a moment ago. We have Brian, Norman, Michael, Grant, Pete, Johannes, Nina, all of us rejoining us perhaps otherwise. It's been a bit of a sleepy afternoon nonetheless, right? Markets have just been dropping and dropping and dropping. So with that, with trying to find a couple of breakout opportunities, there haven't been too many. We have the ATER on the screen at least to begin here. Let me flip this back to a 1-minute chart really quick, and then we're good to go. All right, so folks, welcome on back for all of us on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube. But without further ado, let's hop into it here at the ATER trade. Hey, it was one from last week entirely, the week before, perhaps even before that, as to where we started to put a focus on this trade. I think the news that came out, if any, I think it was just the Wall Street bets people out there on Reddit, calling this a potential short squeeze stock. Listen, if you want to call it a meme stock, short squeeze stock, I don't care what name you give it. It's the fact that it's moving up for us right now. It actually just held above a critical support level, just right around that 430 area. But right now, this thing is going to have a tough time trying to break not just the high of the day, but we have a big resistance up ahead, 460 alongside 467. Those were the opening and closing prints back from Friday last week. So with that, we're still going to see a little bit of resistance around that area, if not exactly at 467. So right now, we'll definitely just put it on our list to begin. Very tradable. Hopefully it breaks higher for us here, albeit it's kind of making lower highs right now. But if it could break out of this pattern here, perhaps we could see continuation. So no problem putting the ATER on the afternoon list. Now, otherwise, folks, I'll tell you, we've had a sleepy afternoon. Market open for us was really nice. So we'll talk more about the LIXT trade number 2 here in just a bit. But let's see what this PTE trade's doing first, and otherwise we'll just scan through. PTE, a little cheapy, but wanted to look at it first. And not a whole lot happening right now for this afternoon, so we'll pass. All right, and we're going to pass on LIXT2 for this afternoon by the looks of this chart. But to at least, cover, what happened from earlier this morning, the stock ended up making a big pop at 8:30. We ended up seeing actually a pretty decent level on the chart. I was chatting with one of our students on the side later throughout the, or earlier throughout the earlier afternoon, and I was going over his trades on just the LIXT trade. And, he gave me the entries and exits. The first thing I asked him was, well, what was your reason for getting in? And it was, for all of his trades, but one that he took, it was a nice catch from Jim. Got in from 285, 286, the purple line that you see there. I don't think we even covered that as much within the Traders Talk workshop that we did earlier this morning. But 286 was a pretty damn strong level. I got to give it up to Jim on that entry at least. Got in from 286 out at 309. Well, hey, from there, I mean, you want to take the money and run. You want to start the morning off with a little profit, right? Just like I said yesterday and this morning in Traders Talk, you don't expect to see a stock like Veru go from 5 to 15. So perhaps Jim was expecting a false breakout and a big dump off from here. So he took his money and ran. Well, pushed up a little bit more, pushed up towards the high of the time, right over 450. I think just under 5 it penultimately topped off at. But hey, he was fearful for a good reason because, hey, it ended up coming right back down after. And then once it snapped below support from 350 going into the early afternoon, I mean, that's where the wheels really fell off on this trade. The LAXT, it's still up technically 83%, but there is a stock even from this morning. We would not find it on the gainers list, maybe on the losers list at this point. Not the BDSX, it was the BCDA stock. Oh, Jesus. Look at this. From top percent gainers list to top percent losers list across the day. It's not down 36 or 30% like the others are. But, hey, this was on the percent gainers list to start, folks. So, you don't want to be stuck holding on, holding and holding, waiting for that big move to happen if it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So, hey, LIXT, it ended up making such a big move in pre-market. It actually made a big move after the open as well, but again, look at where it is now. Give me a quick sec. So just get Jim back on the audio side of things inside our live trading room. All right, good to go, folks. Now let's keep it going though here. Otherwise, you got a bunch of cheapies actually: QLGN, AGRX, HSTO. You tell me, folks. Unless if they're really exploding right now, I want to skip over them. The EVTL at least taking us into this afternoon, making a really nice run up. No pun intended. Well, it's 100% intended. Vertical airspace. This thing is lifted up vertically across the early parts of the afternoon, making higher lows. Hey, it's trying to make another pop once again. So, easily enough, I'll put this on our watch list with the ATER. Right before I started this meeting, I looked at my water bottle and realized I was on complete empty. So it's going to be a brutal, it's going to be a tough afternoon, folks. EVTL, at least for this meeting for this afternoon, definitely easy enough for us to put it on the list. Be careful of the liquidity or lack thereof on the book. It's actually much thinner compared to what the VERU trade offered over the last day and a half. So, the interesting part about this trade is that it's not at all-time highs, but you can see it's a relatively new IPO back from December last year, topped off back in the end of December, 1343. And this peak here, 1264. Nothing really too in common with those price levels. It's trying to kind of get back up to those prices now, but there really isn't much that stands out on the weekly chart, at least that could be like a historical resistance level. So I would much rather put the focus on level 3 here for this afternoon on this trade. Go back to the daily. It seems like 336 off the IPO is the initial high, and then the day after 1343. So you know what? Maybe if we could use the daily, maybe if this keeps pushing that 1336, 1340, 3 area, possibly. Let's see what else we got. SGLY not looking bad. I mean, got crushed from the last 2 days, from Friday last week down to yesterday's close. Stock dropped from 20 to sub 8. So it ended up making a really nice run from earlier today. And hey, still pushing right now. Don't mind it. The one thing that I mind on this trade, if there is anything to gripe about, it's trading about like 5,000 shares a minute, maybe a bit more. Perhaps that number increases if we continue to see a lot more volume getting filled here. Just keep your eye on that number, that white number on my 1 minute chart. But yeah, SGLY looks all right. I mean, obviously at the highs. So. All right, let's see what else we got here. TROO. I've never seen this stock before, and to be really transparent, if there is a stock I've never seen trade before, it's not to say I skip over it. I'll look at it, but you've been around the block long enough. You know what stocks are more active. You know what stocks trade more volume. ATNM was a stock that we've never really traded here inside Cyber Group, and I say that at least representing the last 7.5 to 8 years. So, maybe on a fluke occasion once over that time span we have traded it, but not a long time at least. So it's an unfamiliar trade. It ended up making a big move in pre-market, and for as little volume as this stock trades day to day, about 86,000 shares per day. This is definitely the type of stock to just exhaust itself out, begin to, pull back. So it looks like, it did pull back after the open, this ATNM. It led to a nice little slingshot shortly thereafter, going into 10:30, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Made a nice little pop, but again, from there pulled back, lower highs. Even though it's eking back up a tiny amount right now, I'm not fully sold on this trade just yet. I'll come back to it perhaps at the tail end of this meeting. It's trying to wiggle on up right now. All right, we got ENSV from earlier today. At least this one we're more familiar with from back in March. This is one of the many energy stocks that ended up pushing up for us back then. IMPP was another one back then too. Beginning to pull back a bit right now, up over 11%, but had a nice pop to it going into the mid morning. IMPP, there it is. I saw Chuck pick up some money, 12 cents on ATER. We started the meeting off with it, and Chuck responsibly getting out underneath that resistance around that 460 to 467. You'll see as resistance ahead on this trade. All right, we keep it going. BTU BTU is definitely a familiar name. We see this stock quite a bit, and really from back in end of 2021, or maybe midway of 2021, one of the prettiest uptrends on a daily chart that honestly I've ever seen. And history, in fact, did repeat itself going into the beginning of this year, didn't it? Ended up beginning to make a nice rounded bottom on the daily, pushing back up again. Beautiful trend, similar to what we had back last year. It's up big, kind of making a lower high, albeit it's a lot closer to the highs here compared to a lot of the other stocks we've looked at thus far. You know what? It doesn't hurt me to do so. I'll slip BTU at least on our watch list at the end. All right, we got GOGO here, familiar name. Ooh, pretty active stock today, isn't it? 21 up to 23.75, or roughly under, and then pulling back down now for just about $1 move from top to support now. Um, you know what? I like the activity. It's only trading about 9,000 shares a minute, and that number is likely to continue to dump off. There hasn't really been too big of a spike or upsurge in volume traded recently. Uh, let's see, monthly, no all-time high on this trade, breaking multi-year highs, of course, with that at least. Yeah, I mean, keep it in mind, this week, not going to put it on our watch list for this afternoon. If it was actually making a better move up to the highs, I would easily do so. But, could be a sidelist stock for this week, maybe tomorrow. All right, so with the market dropping off, wouldn't have expected to have found much more on the gainers side. Ended up taking a licking on my Bitcoin trade yesterday, folks. I wasn't going to go too deep into Bitcoin review like I did yesterday, but a quick update, of course. I ended up losing. I ended up getting stopped out on Bitcoin last night or yesterday at 39.7. Ended up pushing back up a tiny amount, pulling back down a tiny amount. I wish I could say that I'm perfect, but I'm not. Just to say, didn't have the best entry, and then it only continued to drop. So I took a loss on Bitcoin yesterday afternoon. I'm out of it for right now. I'm going to wait a little bit longer to see what happens throughout the remaining parts of this week. But the market's at the lows here, so perhaps there could just be some great shorts to work with heading into the afternoon. So hop on over to the loser side for right now, CYTO, and a bunch of crap otherwise that's hard to borrow. You can't really short these stocks. NYOV, easy to borrow, but although it's down a lot, and actually it was dropping off quite nicely up until maybe about like 10 minutes ago. It just got thin volume on the book. Bit of a spread at times, this one, MYOV. So I don't have a great need to put this on our watch list. It's shortable. It's, or it was, dropping off nicely, but let's see what else we got. Sheesh, I'll tell you what, there's definitely a lot more that's down, but I've been around the block. You can skim around this list here pretty quickly and see that there are not really too many, well, A, shortable stocks, and then B, familiar names. Billy is actually both. It is shortable, and it is a relatively familiar name. It's at the lows. All right, there we go. Billy's looking pretty good as a short for right now. Not bad. Deb M says MULN trying to pop. Hey, I agree. It was trying to pop, perhaps past tense. I'd be careful on this trade at this point. Nothing really too special about it right now, and from earlier too. If you're in from 245, or if you took a quick entry off 250, hey, you're up a few cents right now. Chuck saying SOFI all-time lows. Whoa, it is. I know one of our students, Gary, was talking to me about SOFI earlier today. I wasn't really trading at that point going into the afternoon, but he was talking about SOFI there. But Chuck is bringing up the fact that it's at all-time lows, which I did not realize until now. Wow, really interesting. All right, SOFI, definitely a lock for this list here. Just a shortable stock at all-time lows, looking great. From Dan, BDSX. That was one of the few that from this morning that, well, I mean, ended up dudding off quite a bit after the open, Dan. I don't know. This thing looks super flat right now. I don't know anyone that would want to trade this right now at this time. It only looks like it's just going to continue to dump. All right, folks, I think that just about wraps it up for me here. I don't see anything else across YouTube or across the live trading room of ours. From Brian now at the end, actually really quick, DraftKings short. Oh yeah, I got to get through some Sidelist stocks, like I said. DraftKings is one of those. It's dropping off a little bit here nicely. Let's just take a look at some of the others like NEO, a little choppy right now. AMC, which was dropping off nicely earlier. It actually is down over 6%. It's not really showing great trend right now. So I'll pass on it right now. I like the DraftKings more even. Lucid Motors, LCID. I don't know what happened to this one, folks. I mean, geez, this popped up when Fausto started the morning meeting. Made a big pop. I was looking for news at the time. Couldn't find any. And it kind of makes sense now as to why this stock ended up dropping off. There was zero news on the trade and the market just dropped off, so it took this down with it. So with that, LCID could be a short opportunity as well. It's actually hard to borrow my TradeStation platform right now, but I'd keep this in mind too, kind of on the side list. All right, there was one trade I said I was going to get back to at the end here. I said it was on the side list, the ATNM. I wasn't fully sold on it just yet. I will tell you, though, it's trading a lot of volume per minute. It's trading about 32,000 shares a minute. So that number could easily drop off over time if there's less volume being traded from this point going forward. But it also is shortable. So if this does fail to continue to squeeze up, it could be a potential opportunity on the way down. So you know what? I'll tag this on the back end of our list here as well, the ATNM. All right, for all of us on YouTube, Facebook Live, quick housekeeping note before we finish up. I know that Fausto is preparing. Well, he's going to be trading going into the close, but he's going to be preparing momentarily for a workshop, a webinar lined up at 4 p.m. later on today, 4 p.m. Eastern time. It's another one of his introductory to day trading type of webinars. So if you're interested in joining, just go right down to the link on the yellow banner below of that stream there. And if you can't make it live, just register. Just click that link to register. At least that way you could receive the recording come tomorrow morning. For Brian, for Chuck, for Deb, for Jim, for all of us otherwise live inside Cyber Group, I know that Rich will be on the horn in about 13 or so minutes, and then I'll be back on the mic myself right at 3:30 to wrap things up for us, folks. All right, I'll talk to you all soon. Take care.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9. Do it today.